Are you trying to lower your tax bill by doing Roth conversions in retirement? Well, this is a common idea and a common strategy for retirees that have large tax-deferred account balances to ultimately help them pay less tax throughout the rest of their life. So today I wanted to share with you 6 common Roth conversion mistakes and how you can avoid these in your Roth conversion planning strategies. The first mistake that many people make is they have no idea what their current tax situation looks like. So they have no idea how much money they're truly earning, which means they really don't know how much tax they're paying on those earnings. They don't know maybe different sources of income that they have coming in from investment account, dividend, or interest. Maybe they've got different stock options that are being taxed to them in certain different ways. Most people have no idea how much we're spending, and we really don't know how much we're earning. It takes a really good audit to figure that out. And so one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make is they're like, I'm going to do a Roth conversion, but they don't have any base or starting place to go on to understand, hey, how much should I do in a conversion? Because they really don't know what their income looks like. So that's the first mistake, is if you're trying to do a Roth conversion, you need to understand what your current tax situation looks like. And then from that point, then you can decide how and when you want to do conversions. The second mistake that I often see is many people are too focused on lowering their tax bill right now this year and less focused on, hey, how much tax am I going to pay the rest of my life? So it feels really good to not pay taxes on an annual basis or pay as little as possible because that feels good to us. But what we're actually doing is perhaps building up a larger tax bill for ourselves or our spouse or our kids or whoever in the future. And by not being proactive and not planning or thinking ahead, what we're going to do is we're going to build up that large tax bill, and then someone else is going to have to pay those taxes. So could it be beneficial to pay taxes now by doing a conversion on some of our tax deferred assets? It might be, and it's worth evaluating. But the main thing is to not get tunnel vision and really focus on just taxes this year. So zoom out just a little bit and make sure you're planning for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and not just focused on this singular tax year. The third mistake that I really see often is going to be people that withhold their taxes from their conversion amount before age 59 and a half. So if you know anything about a tax-deferred account such as an IRA or a 401k, you cannot access those funds unless it's for a qualified event. You cannot access those funds before age 59 and a half without paying taxes and an additional 10% penalty. So you're always going to pay the taxes regardless of when you take it out, but really the 10% penalty is what we're focused on here. If you make a distribution from those tax-deferred account types before that age, then you will have that 10% penalty. Now, whenever we do a Roth conversion, we can elect to either pay those taxes with cash we have on hand in our bank account, or we can have those taxes withheld from the conversion amount. So for an example, if you convert $100,000 and you need to withhold 20% of taxes on that, you withhold $20,000 from the conversion amount and only $80,000 would actually be going into your Roth IRA. But there's a catch. The $20,000 that is being withheld from the account whenever you do the conversion is actually classified as a distribution from the account. And if you do that before age 59 and a half, you would owe an additional 10% penalty on that $20,000. So a lot of people are met with an additional tax that they're unaware of whenever they do a Roth conversion before 59 and a half and they withhold the taxes from the conversion amount. So in that example I just gave you, that person would have to pay an additional $2,000 because of the 10% penalty on $20,000. That was the withholding amount. That is something that catches a lot of people off guard, and I wanted to make you aware of that. So the third mistake is people withhold taxes from their conversion amount whenever they're less than 59 and a half. Now, once you're over age 59 and a half, it doesn't matter if you withhold the taxes or not because there's no 10% penalty after that point. But withholding the taxes does kind of eat or bite into a little bit of the benefit of doing the conversion. So the most optimal way to do a conversion at any point is going to be to pay the taxes for that amount out of cash or out of a brokerage account rather than having it withheld from the conversion amount itself. The fourth mistake is when someone is doing a Roth conversion and they don't think about their entire income plan, which can lead to other tax surprises. So here's what I mean. When we think about IRMA, which is income related monthly adjustment amount, that's for Medicare premium surcharges. So if you earn too much money or have too much adjusted gross income in any given year once you are Medicare age, you could be assessed an additional premium amount on top of the normal base premium because you've earned too much money. So how would this affect you from a Roth conversion standpoint? Now, this is not exact numbers, but just to kind of give you an example, let's say here this year that the IRMA income limit is $180,000, but you do a conversion that puts you at $190,000. So your taxable income is now $190 instead of under that $180 because you did a conversion. Now, because of that, you're going to have a IRMA surcharge on your Medicare premiums, which is an unexpected tax increase because you didn't know perhaps about the IRMA surcharge possibility, but then also you didn't plan effectively for it because you have other income sources. You've got Social Security, you maybe have a pension, you have distributions from tax taxable accounts and things like that, or dividends or interest that come from a brokerage account. All those things add up. And so we have to factor that into the Roth conversion strategy to say, hey, do we need to stay under that IRMAA income limit? Because it's a cliff. It's not like a graduated schedule. As soon as you go over the 180, we're just using 180 here as just a basic example. But if you go over the $180,000 by $1, your premiums for Medicare that year are going to be increased based on that $1. So it's a cliff. We've got to be under that if we're wanting to pay attention to it. Now, one thing to know about IRMAA is it's not necessarily based on your income you're earning this year. The IRMAA surcharges are based on your income 2 years ago. So if you're in 2024 watching this, that means that your income for IRMAA charges would be based on your income that you made in 2022. And if you're above the income limit based on what your 2022 income was, then you might have an IRMAA surcharge at that point. But when it comes to Roth conversions, we've got to factor this in and say, if IRMAA is something that we don't want to pay, or having a surcharge on our Medicare premiums is not what we want to pay, then we may want to make sure we're under that income threshold to make sure we don't pay that additional surcharge. So that's one way that you could have additional tax consequences by not planning or thinking about your entire income plan. Another thing would be taxation on Social Security. You know, at most 85% of your Social Security is taxable at any given point, but it could be anywhere under that as well. So if you're wanting to do a Roth conversion, number one, first of all, make sure it's worth doing. But then second of all, what does this affect? Am I going to pay more taxes on my Social Security income, but also maybe I've got, just like I mentioned, IRMAA that could be factored in as well. So we've got to pay attention to all these things and kind of these different thresholds and taxations that come on different types of income to make sure we're not doing something that is negatively affecting us more than the Roth conversion is helping us. So that's something to evaluate, but that's the fourth mistake I often see. People are just not evaluating their entire income plan and seeing some of the potential pitfalls that could come up whenever they're doing a Roth conversion. The fifth mistake, and this is a big one, could be that whenever someone does a conversion, they don't really have a plan for that money once it's in the Roth IRA. So whenever the money goes into the Roth, it's sitting in cash, assuming that you actually converted cash to the account. Now you can convert positions as they are from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, but you want to make sure that you do that correctly. But once the money is in a Roth IRA, it might change how you want to invest those dollars, right? Because a Roth IRA, the nature of the account is that it grows tax-free, which is the benefit of using a Roth in the first place. But if it's growing tax-free, it would make sense that we'd want that account to be invested as aggressively as possible so that the most growth could happen in that account. So what does that mean? Maybe we don't need to have as many bonds in that account as we do in a traditional IRA. Or maybe we need to not have as much dividend focus in that account as we do in maybe a traditional IRA. So what you're starting to see here is what's called asset location. So depending on the account type that we've got that we're working with, or the multiple account types, we might want to have different investment allocations based on the benefits or drawbacks of those accounts. So that means you might have your income or dividend paying holdings in your traditional IRA since it's tax sheltered, but also you want to have your growthier type investments in your Roth IRAs because you benefit from the tax-free growth. So just something to think about, but I see that a lot of people end up doing 60-40, 60-40, 60-40 and all the different account types, and that's not the most optimal strategy. So whenever you have money that goes into a Roth IRA through a Roth conversion, make sure that money is invested correctly to help you achieve the most success with that account type. And the sixth one might be one of the most popular mistakes that I see, is because Roth conversions are a popular term. They're things that everyone hears about and they're like, oh, tax savings, I want to do that. But one of the things that I see often is people are trying to do Roth conversions and they otherwise should not be. They can't benefit enough from doing them. And so what they do is, because their neighbors are doing them or someone else is doing them, or they see someone like me talking about Roth conversions, like, oh, I've got to do Roth conversions because that's just the cool thing to do, or it's the right thing to do. And that's not always the case, So typically whenever someone has north of $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, Roth conversions can really be a positive, impactful thing for them. But if you're under that $1 million threshold, it's something to say, hey, this is a case-by-case basis. It's a year-by-year basis. It's not something that you absolutely should or shouldn't do. It's something that you should evaluate and say, hey, what am I willing to do in terms of how much tax I'm willing to pay? And then also be able to quantify how much that benefits you over the rest of your life or your spouse's life, or perhaps leaves a legacy for your kids. So these are the 6 common Roth conversion mistakes I see when I talk to people that are trying to do Roth conversions and evaluating if it's for them. So hopefully this helps you and maybe helps you avoid some of these mistakes here in the future. But let me know down in the comments below, what are some other ideas or topics you want to learn more about around retirement planning? And also, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much. We will see you next time.